So, welcome to our third session tonight. Tonight, we will be addressing management strategies. We're going to discuss some ways to use management strategies to improve your business outcomes. We're going to talk about planning using developmental guides and some tools to assist with your record keeping and communication, and establishing practices to help your business thrive. The first thing we're going to talk about tonight is some management strategies. So, creating and using your business plan as your roadmap. For those of you that attended the first session with us, it is done already, right? You already have your draft, your business plan in a one page. Consider your business plan and use it as your roadmap. You'll refer to that into various sections several times over the course of your business life, and it's really important that it become a useful document for you in terms of guiding your next steps and establishing protocols that will really give meaning to your business. So, one of the things that was identified over the last year in terms of maybe 2 years actually, determining what some of the needs are for this industry is that childcare providers, it's clear that childcare providers sometimes fail to see their business as a legitimate business. It doesn't seem to take shape as other businesses do, specifically for home-based providers. And so it's really important that you consider your business a living, breathing entity. It is a really useful and necessary component of our infrastructure within our community. And you can sell your business. And so it's important to kind of start that process now. Your business plan is one of the foundational pieces for that. But of course, you also have a variety of different unique protocols that will come into play as well. So really important things. So a couple things to consider are managing your costs and keeping track of those. So regular analysis of your expenses, which is one of the things that we talked about last week, is a really important practice. And what that looks like really is somewhat unique, but in general, it's going to look at like you keeping track, just like you do now if you're in business, of all of your expenses and your income. And the reason why that's important is because that shows a history of the viability of your business model. And so it's going to show that you've taken a wage. It's going to show that you've charged a price for your service and your product. And it's going to show that you have legitimate business inputs, such as expenses for your program fees, for your materials, for field trips that you might take the children on, for programs that you put on. Maybe you bring in a ballet teacher, for example, or a karate instructor. Those are ways that you can enhance your program, and those are legitimate expenses that you're incurring, in addition to other things like insurance and maybe some travel costs and snack costs, in addition to maybe some other things that you are regularly spending business funds on. Your insurance rates are another kind of business expense that is somewhat out of your control, but it's really important that you manage that by working with your agent and making sure that you're getting the most competitive rate that you can with a reputable insurance company that's easy to work with in times of need, right? And when you actually have to file a claim. So it's really important that you work closely with your agent to try and can manage some of those costs. And then, of course, address any assets and investments that might actually go with the business if you decide to retire. So last week, we talked a little bit about the useful life of some of your business assets. So in terms of equipment and materials and supplies, it's going to be different based on whether the item is stored indoors or outdoors, how often you use it, and for what purpose. But every piece of equipment or supply has a useful life. And so working closely with a tax professional can also set you up for success there as well. So managing your finances is a really important piece of managing your business. So managing costs, right? Managing some of those records to maintain solid records of the income you're bringing in and the expenses that you are purchasing for your business operations. Those are just the basic pieces of management there for financial records. But what about other things like licensing visits, regulation changes, any kind of thing that comes up that might require reporting? And maybe that reporting doesn't go anywhere necessarily. Maybe it's just internal reporting, things that you want to keep track of. How many times did a child come in sick? Or did children come in sick, right? What kinds of sicknesses and when did they occur? And it might seem like, oh, well, we know it's flu season. Well, there's other things that might occur too, right? So we had some incidences a couple of years ago with some serious pandemic needs. So keeping track of some of those things can be really important. RSV season is such an important thing for providers to keep an eye on, especially if you also care for infants or if you interact with older people, senior citizens, or if those other children do as well, right? So you want to be mindful of things like that so that you can keep an eye on those patterns and then also communicate with parents. So RSV season, it's flu season, it's cold season. Here's some things that I need from you, just to increase and improve the health and safety of my business. This is what I need from you as parents. Communicating sick policies, things like that. That will help you as you're planning your entire year and help you get a head start on those things. In addition to other types of incidents that need to be reported, right? Boo-boos, owies, if someone gets hurt, if a child is dealing with some behavior needs, just part of their development, any kind of serious incidents that you want to keep track of, and there's going to be requirements there for licensing. So keeping track of all those things are a basic management principle. And they're going to be slightly different based on the size of your center, home-based, facility-based, and of course, the number of children that you are licensed for. And that just leads into the safety protocols, right? Depending on the design of your home, the way that parents come in and drop off, the things that you require during those processes, those are all going to be very unique for each one of you because you have a totally different setup, right? And so, for example, I have a set of stairs outside on my basement that if I had a daycare and I was using the whole basement level of my home for a daycare facility, for example, that set of stairs does not have a rail. So if I was able to put in a rail or if that was required of me, I would need to do that, right? And then a safety protocol would be, this is how you need to enter my staircase. Please use the rail. And I would put up signage, for example. And that's just one example of a safety protocol to help keep my clients safe, but also to reduce my liability. Okay, those are just some things that would be unique to my property. So take a little stock of what's happening in your home or in your facility and how parents are accessing your entry and your exit, what drop off, sign in and sign out looks like, and prepare safety protocols, signage, and instructions that keep your clients safe, but also reduce your liability, which is really important way to help and manage your costs and keep them low. And manage your time. And that this could be a variety of different things. I would really be interested in hearing how some of you are managing your time and how you're protecting your time, because your personal time is really important, right? That's your personal, maybe your family time or your time off of work, away from caring for children and other people's needs. I'm going to need to protect my personal time when I'm not working. What will that even look like, right? So those are some of the ways in which you can manage and protect yourself to avoid burnout, which is a really important thing to consider. Is it possible that you could add a sub or a part-time staff member so that you could attend family functions? You could do some personal grocery shopping or maybe have lunch with a friend. Those are some things that, maybe we think about in terms of taking time off from our regular day job. But if you work from home and other parents are relying on you, that will need to be scheduled. You'll need to be very intentional about scheduling that time for yourself and how will you execute it. Let's think about some operational planning. So when we did your business plan, when we walked through the business model canvas, we addressed several key functions, right? We talked about your target demographic, who are you serving, not only the ages of the children, but tell me a little bit about the parents. Okay, we talked a little bit about that. We also talked about how people hear about you, so your marketing channels. We talked about your cost structure, but there's some other non-conforming sections of a business plan that are very unique to the business. And some of those sections could be risk mitigation, it could be communication channels, ways and at which point and time you communicate with parents. Those are unique to childcare. They're going to be very different and they may not show up in other business plans. So, therefore, we didn't necessarily see them on the business model canvas, but they're important to you. And so, consider some of the things that you feel might be missing, and that includes safety protocols, that includes sick policies. What happens if you're not well, right? What is the process of letting parents know, I can't care for your children today, or it's an emergency, I'm not able to be open today? What does that look like? Those are very unique to your industry, and they're not going to show up in other business plans necessarily. So we need to think about those and be prepared for those things because it's a very different beast. So consider the risks, safety, communication, anything that you feel might be missing from that business model canvas, and let's include that in your operational plan. Now, we do have templates for this, but like I said, it's very unique. So the things that are on that template just might not apply to you. So we can completely make this unique. We can draw it up from scratch. And it would just start with you taking stock of some things that, hey, this wasn't noted on my business model canvas, but this is something that I deal with every day or pretty frequently. And so jot that down and let's take some time and really write out that policy and plan that's meaningful to you. That'll be helpful again, because what we're doing here is we're trying to set up a very tangible business that you can retire from and sell. We don't want you to close your daycare, your childcare center. We do not want you to close your home-based business. We want you to be able to package it and make it tangible so that you can sell it, and that this really important piece of infrastructure will stay within the community. And again, this can look like policies, this can look like plans, this can look like your business plan written out. These things are very transferable. And even though they're unique, they are valuable. And I want you to be able to realize that value rather than just closing. And something to note is that some of these safety protocols might help you on insurance costs. I can't guarantee that your insurance agent will require it, but you can offer that up and say, I have a series of safety protocols to reduce my liability. Is it possible that these policies could save money on my insurance policy? And make sure that, and we can just get them all nice and neat and ready to go and prepare them for your insurance agent to submit on your behalf. They might say no, but it's always a no if you don't ask, right? These are just some ways in which you can show that you were prepared and you're thinking about ways to reduce liability, especially right now. For those of you that have parents walking up to your door and there's ice or snow on the ground, that's a huge liability. So what can you do right now to plan to keep people safe when they're approaching your home, okay, or your place of business? These are just things that, I kind of talk about every day when I go up to an appointment, like, oh, there's ice here. Let's bust out the salt. Let's get this taken care of right now to make sure that none of your customers get hurt. And then think of other things that might come up. Think of other ways, just policies teaching the children how to transition from one section of your property to another. Things like walking field trips. What are some ways that you can keep the children safe? They've got those amazing for lack of a better term, leashes. I don't know exactly what they're called, but they slip their arm into them and then everyone's connected with a ribbon, and that will help everyone stay in line. But then also you can easily see if someone is off, or everyone's going to get pulled if they pull it down. So that way, at least you can try to keep the little ones safe and you have an idea where they are, which is really important. Those protocols are going to help reduce your liability and keep not only your children safe, but keep parents trusting in your ability to do so, which is really important for the longevity of your business. Another thing that sometimes gets overlooked in terms of just management is an up-to-date inventory of what you have. Now, I'm not referring to counting crayons. I'm referring to considering any of your equipment that has a long, useful life. Long meaning a couple years, right? So your furniture, your things like your tables and chairs, those things have a long, useful life. Outdoor play equipment, things that you are going to be able to use over and over again for a period of a couple years or more. Most of the things in your business, I would say, probably have a useful life between 3 and 5 years, and this is what we talked about last week. But I could be wrong, right? I mean, everyone has unique items, but considering consumables, which are used every day, disposable paper, markers, crayons, paint, those things are just, you're flying through those, they're consumed. And then you have your assets, which are things with a useful life beyond a couple years. And those are going to need to be replaced every few years, but until then, they maintain value. And when you sell your business, if you have equipment that is still within its useful life, it has value. And so, again, these are just some things to consider. They may not apply, but I want you to consider if they do. And feel free to drop some things in the chat and we can address those together in terms of the types of equipment that you have a question about, the types of assets that you're wondering, like, is this something that I could sell with my business, or what does that even look like? We can talk about all those things together and use that example to learn from each other tonight. So these are ways in which you can kind of step ahead, think ahead, look ahead, and plan for your personal time to be respected. These are great, great points. So plan and schedule. I'm a firm believer of structure. It's really important for me, but not everyone operates the same way, right? You might really like the flexibility and there's just the go with the flow. One thing to be aware of is that children tend to thrive when they know what's happening. It's one of the reasons why they ask us to read the same story over and over and over, because they know what's coming, and it's really helpful for them to be able to predict what's coming next. So even if you are a very flexible person, creative, and you don't necessarily need a schedule, consider creating some type of loose schedule for your day. It's one way to improve behavior, to teach and enforce social emotional learning, in addition to a whole host of other things. So just some things to consider. But if you have any great points to the contrary, but consider creating and following a schedule and bring in those developmental norms, milestones that your children, the children in your care currently, are going to be experiencing, or things that you are expecting that you'll be providing, in encouraging and showing to them and introducing to them, right? And then communicate progress and information as regularly as you can, but let's build in some ways in which communication is somewhat automatic and doesn't require a lot of extra effort on your part, because you got into this business likely to work with children and to be able to network with their parents, but not be stuck behind a computer or behind your phone communicating. That is oftentimes, that's absolutely hands down the one thing that I hear every day is, I did not get into this business, whatever business it was, from manufacturing to service to retail to food. I did not get into this business to do bookkeeping. I hear that every single day. And I think to myself, yeah, I can see that. Why would you want to get into this amazing business where you get to exercise your passions to do something that is completely opposite, right? And so it's really important that you stop and think about what's most important to me, and then plan your day around that. Because whatever you love and are passionate about, the kids are going to be passionate about too. They're going to get so excited, whatever it is, as long as you still have that passion. But if you start to feel bogged down by the things that you don't really like to do, they're going to sense that too, right? They're going to sense that you have a lot of things on your mind. And right now, coloring is not the most important thing to you. So some things to consider. Absolutely. So consider some curriculum and plans. Now, there are a lot of different resources out there, but one of the things that we found is that Wyoming does not have resources that are that you can just easily pick from. But you are in luck. I have a lot of experience in developmental norms. I spent 18 years as an infant development specialist working with birth to 3. After I worked in the school as an inclusion specialist for 8 years. And so then I realized, oh, I want to go home. I want to work with parents and caregivers. And I want to be where the work is really still in the parents' hands, because they're the experts here. And so one of the things that I relied really heavily on was my developmental checklists. And we use a variety of different things, and they change over the years. For those of you that have been in this business for a long time, you've seen a lot of different things come through. So this is in no way the only thing that you can use. This is just one that was easy and it was free, which was important, right? I want you to be able to spend your money on things that you're really passionate about. There's a lot of different free resources out there, and you don't have to spend your money on checklists. So first off, though, check if you're using any kind of software for your program, like for example, a Bright Wheel or something that's specific to your industry. Check to see what they have. You might already be paying for some resources and not even know it. So within your software, if you're using it, go ahead and just check and see what's available. Is take a look at those checklists and see if they fit the ages. This one specifically is to 48 months. So, and the reason why I didn't worry too much about finding something beyond that is because once you get to that kindergarten age, you're really looking at those pre-academics, right? Those are the most important things, and that is available at that age. That's important, and that is available through the Department of Ed. So up until 4 years old for your toddler and preschool, or birth to 4 years old, you can find all of their developmental norms here or on any other tool that you prefer and love. And it will help you as you're designing your lesson plans. So it will give you an idea of, okay, today we're going to be learning about bubbles and how bubbles are made and just the chemistry of that. And so what's appropriate for my babies, what's appropriate for my 2-year-olds, and you'll be able to see that all the way through is, okay, I can incorporate everyone here by just tailoring the plan for them. And so again, these tools are there to help you, and we can use them together. If you need any assistance in putting together a lesson plan for your age groups, we can meet together and I can help you put that together. And we can even make a list of all the supplies that you'll need, some different scripts that you can use if you're trying to engage from your babies that are learning to talk. We're dealing with the 1-word, 2-word phrases, all the way up to your 4 and 5-year-olds who can have sentences and project and make hypotheses. And so, you've got this nice span of cognitive skills, and together we can plan for the age groups that you are working with. So we can make it very unique. And so that's a tool for you. In addition to some other tools that we'll talk about today, menus, you might need to create a snack menu if you'll be providing any food items. It's helpful. And if you have that prepared ahead of time, not only are you able to communicate with parents ahead of time, these are the snacks that I'll be serving this month or this week, right? At whatever frequency you need to share it. But also, here's what's going to happen over the next month or over the next year. One of the things that we rely on so heavily in our house is that annual calendar for the school. I mean, it's on my refrigerator, and I literally reference it a couple times a week. When are the holidays coming up? Any parent-teacher work days or parent-teacher conferences, teacher work days, any of those things. When's spring break? That's how I plan my life, is around that calendar. And you can do the same thing and help parents by communicating in advance. And then again, that's what I mean by kind of communicating automatically, is then you don't have to do anything. You can just say, reference your calendar, and all that information is there for them. So ways to kind of get that information out, but not take a lot of extra time from you. What I'm trying to help you see is that you can formulate this as a business in whatever way is convenient and appropriate for your business, but not with a lot of extra effort. That's what we want to do. We want to preserve your effort for the things that you're really passionate about. And maybe that's making menus, but probably not. And so I just want to check the chat here. Excellent. Got some people interested in participating in second session. Okay. And any other tips and things that you have learned over the years of ways to communicate, throw that information out there for everyone, because we will all learn from it. So tools to improve efficiency. So I pulled a couple basic tools for you, and I'm really interested in hearing what you're using, even if it's paper pencil, because I'm still a paper pencil person too. But in your industry, It could make it a little difficult for you to pivot if you need to, or for you to communicate quickly. And so just considering, what works best for you, and then also looking ahead to try and make that communication as easy as possible. So it's important, again, for you to be aware of what's coming and how to be able to pivot for that. So a couple things to look at would be email, right? So I'm very familiar with both Google Workspace and Microsoft. I'd love to hear how you guys are communicating right now and what that looks like. And for what, right? I mean, there's a lot of different things that parents need to know throughout the day, but I think there's also this huge reliance during pickup or drop off, and for that matter, of, tell me how the day went. And that can take a lot of time, but it's also a relationship builder. So I'm not in any way trying to replace that, but I want to think about, like, how can you pre-communicate some things just to help those processes and those relationships be a little less formal, right? So that you can really get to know each other. So thinking about a dedicated email for your business. Now, in terms of cybersecurity, you need to be aware that there's some offerings that are more secure than others. So be aware of not emailing sensitive information. So try not to accept things through email that might include any sensitive information, like a social security number, even a driver's license number. If you collect any of that information as part of your registration process, please be aware that email is not the most secure method of communication. And if you're keeping any paper files, make sure that you're keeping that under a lock, or you are shredding those files once you're finished with them. Just being mindful that sensitive information could be contained. But considering a dedicated email for your business, number one, it keeps all of that communication in one email. So you don't have to sift your personal emails and business emails trying to find things. It keeps it dedicated. And you can link, if you're using like a Google Workspace, for example, you can link it to Google My Business. You can link it to other apps that will help keep all of your business things together. You can sign into a lot of different platforms with your email, whether that be Microsoft or Google. But a custom email address also shows a higher level of professionalism. And one thing I suggest is that we create a dedicated and custom email signature. Again, just to really identify you as a business owner. And plus, it provides an access where parents can click and immediately find your Facebook page, if you have a Facebook page or another type of social media platform. If you have a LinkedIn profile that you would like them to connect with professionally, or add any recommendations or references for you as a professional, that's a great way to kind of build that professional profile. And we can link everything right through your email signature. So for those of you that received emails from me, you saw my signature down at the bottom. All of us at the Wyoming SBDC have the same type of email signature, so you can rely on that. You know where it's coming from. If it doesn't look like that and there's no email signature, I would be looking extra hard to make sure it really came from me. So it establishes you and provides brand recognition. Plus, if you're using email to share things like, updates or calendars or changes or special notices, permission slips, things like that, right? Waivers for walking field trips or fun things that might be happening. You want to make sure that you have all of that in one place, and a work email can do that for you. Now, you can get a free version or you can get a paid version. There's different, kind of benefits to both, but we can talk about that. If you have any questions, throw them out and I'll be sure to address them the best that I can. One of the best tools, though, by using either a Microsoft or a Google email is your calendar, because we can set your calendars to be forward facing. You can create calendars you can have a personal calendar that no one sees, that's just for you, but then you can create a totally separate calendar for your business, and you can layer it in so you can see everything, but only that work calendar is forward facing. Parents can then integrate that forward facing calendar into their own calendar and see everything that's going on. So that way it's really clear. And again, it's communicating for you. So you're not having to remind anybody. You're just saying, please accept, I'm sharing my calendar with you. Please accept it so that it will blend with yours. So if I pull up my work calendar right now, I can see my personal calendar because I've shared it with my work self. And that way I'm aware of like, oh, we got dentist appointments and my daughter has braces. So there's times I got to take an extra long lunch on certain days to go for her ortho appointment. So I need all that in one spot so that I can be sane. And so that's what I'm encouraging you to consider is how can you let it communicate for you so you can be sane too. Let's be sane together. Record keeping it's just going to keep everything in a concentrated space, right? Which is important. And it'll just make your life easier when you need to find something. It promotes your professionalism, which is what we're trying to accomplish here, is that you are running a business, you are a professional. And I want you to, if this is important to you, if this is one way that you can outline yourself and present yourself as a professional, I can help you do this, or maybe you're already doing this. I'd love to hear how it's working for you. And it's going to set you apart from your competitors, right? For those that haven't taken that step yet. I can help in terms of creating professional documents that all look the same. So all of your calendars, for example, or your menus that you might be sharing for snacks, or if you're providing any additional food items, they can all have the same branding, same names, the same colors, and that will, again, help you identify yourself as a professional. It'll help parents to identify your documents, and it will promote brand recognition, which is really important in terms of the longevity of your business and the succession plan that's important for you. This is not my business, business UW email signature, but I made this today using this WISE stamp because I wanted just to make sure it worked. I've used HubSpot before with several clients. And then of course, Canva has a lot of different options too. So they're all linked here for you, and I'll pop these into the chat for you. But these are really handy and they're free. All you need to do is put in your email to get signed up on their newsletter, and it's a free service. I put in my links, so whenever you get an email from me, if I were to use this, you can click on the Facebook icon. It'll take you directly to our Wyoming SBDC Facebook page, Instagram, and our LinkedIn page. So again, these are all my professional profiles that I want my clients to know about and follow. And so we can set this up for you so it's consistent. You can have it automatically added to every single email that goes out. And you can schedule emails. So when you're doing your prep work, you can schedule everything to go out. Maybe every Monday you want the calendar to go out. Every Monday we schedule your calendar to go out, and you do it all at once. So it takes all of 11 minutes, and it's boom. Every Monday your calendar and your snack list is going out. So again, how can we use these tools to get that information out there without a whole lot of extra time and effort from you? We want to use these tools and any other tools. If you have great recommendations, share them because it's helpful. This is all about doing more with less time, being more efficient, and running your business as efficiently and effortlessly as possible. So some other tools we talked about are the developmental checklists. And so this is that link that I'm going to throw in the chat for you. They're beautiful. They're very easy to read. And you can print them out for every age group that you need and then just reference them. You can even use them if you have any concerns whatsoever and you would like to use them to communicate with a parent. It's a great way to say, let's take a look at some of the things I'm noticing that Johnny is doing really well. And here's some things that I'm going to be working on over the next couple months, but I also want you to bring this up with the doctor, just so that we're all on the same page, right? You play such an important role in the development of the children's lives that are in your care. And it's so important as parents to know that there's someone on their side that's also keeping an eye out for these things. So it's a great way to say, go ahead and take this list with you to your well baby checkup, and let's just make sure we're all on the same page and pushing Johnny forward. And so again, it can help kind of smooth over some of those conversations that might be difficult to have. But what a great way to have everything in a 1-page or 2-page checklist that you can run through and say, okay, we're going to be working on, we've got 3 babies that are all working on different levels of mobility. So I'm just going to make sure I've got lots of opportunities for babies to be on their tummy today, lots of opportunities for things to be for babies to be doing the half kneel, pulling things off of the small toddler table, pulling things off of the small chair in the reading nook, right? All of these kind of activities that will help move everyone forward. And again, if you need help with any of that, I'm here to help. Getting in the habit, building habits, such an important thing. And this is something I literally work on every day with all kinds of different businesses, is how do I just get this prep work done? Or how do I get prepared? Or how do I think ahead? I'm in retail, so even though it's July, I'm already selling Christmas. These are things that I have to work with clients on in a variety of different industries. And it's something that I have to work on too, even in my job. And so this is not just for, just for childcare providers. This is for everyone. We all have to get into habits of preparing so that we can protect our personal time and our mental health. And this was, I recently did a small series, a 3-part series, and I had a couple different people from different industries show up. And so it was interesting that protecting personal time and respecting personal boundaries came up across a variety of different industries. So it wasn't just, for helper industries. It was a lot of different industries. So this is something that everyone's working on, and it's relevant. And so we can talk about it as well. And I'd be really interested to hear any other tools or tips that you have for getting into the habit and preparing for your work, and what that looks like, right? For you, either daily or weekly or monthly, and how you implement it will be helpful for everyone. So some things like calendaring important dates, doing your prep. Now that's going to look very different based on the ages that you work with, based on the ratio that you have, whether or not the kids have been with you for a while or whether or not they're new. You have to kind of be patient with yourself and with your arrangement, because everyone is going to be at a different level of comfort, right? You're going to have the kids that have been with you for a long time. They know the drill. They are really comfortable, and you know that they have a level of successful independence. However, some kiddos that have just enrolled are still learning the routine, and you are there to kind of guide them through. So you're spending a lot more time kind of sitting next to them and maybe teaching them. And so it's a little bit of a different setup for every kiddo that's in your care. But absolutely spending time working through that prep, teaching children the routine, teaching any additional staff persons that are helping you. Maybe you've got someone that comes in occasionally and gives you time off. But this prep and this kind of work ahead, this forward forethought can help you as you are passing the torch to someone, even just temporarily or for the short term. And you'll feel better about taking that time away if you know that you've done the prep and things are prepared. So those healthy boundaries are really important. So a couple tips that I have are to use a Google Voice phone number instead of your personal cell, or to get a separate line, right? And that can actually be done pretty inexpensively. You can literally get a non-contract phone from Walmart for any of the carriers, and then just call your carrier and ask for another number, and immediately. So there's no contract, there's nothing. And I mean, you could probably get a phone for less than a couple $100, and it doesn't have to be anything special. It just has to have the features that you need it to have. But again, a separate line. And I think that did come up too about, turning your phone off and protecting yourself. But if you're using the same number for business and personal, that might be challenging to do. So getting a separate phone number. Now, if this is something you'd like to transition to, but you've struggled because you've started with your personal cell, it's as easy as creating a canned response. Thank you for reaching out to me. This is my personal cell, and this is my business cell. And then you just copy and paste that every time a parent reaches out to you to remind them, hey, we need to move you to this other phone number because this is my private cell. And what that also does is encourage parents to remember that it's 7:45 at night. You're tucking your own little one into bed. And so this is your private time. And as parents, it's likely not intentional, but if you feel like your personal time, your phone is being kind of hijacked, it's important to kind of create some boundaries. So that's one way. And there may be other things. I'd love to hear any other advice that you guys have here, but calendaring important dates, not only your license renewals and kind of big deal dates, but other things too, like Valentine's Day, right? What do we want to do for Valentine's Day? And what calendaring your shopping trips for special events that are coming up. So when I say important dates, I mean, it could be anything, whatever is important to you. There's nothing like being told, oh, I need snacks for 30 kids for this special event. And I'm like, I've already went to the store. I'm not going back to the store. And so again, if you calendar these things, it will help you be prepared so that you can address whatever prep you need to address before that big date happens. And then using your prep time as you need it. So we talked about during the financial analysis session, we talked about scheduling your prep time, scheduling some time to be paid for if you need to go to the market and get snack items, prepping those snack items, actually being prepared to charge for that time and work that into your cost structure. And so that also goes for prep. Prep could be cutting out different shapes and things, or it could be setting up specific activities, gathering all the supplies for a specific event or activity that you are hosting, for whatever the daily is for your table time. All of that takes time. Now, throughout the day, you'll likely have time to do some of that. That's, kind of what I meant by schedule earlier, is to find times when everyone's taking a nap, I'm going to be picking up, getting ready for afternoon snack, getting ready for, getting my stuffed animal and my book ready for book time. All those little things, you might be able to do that throughout the day, but there's likely things that you need to do outside of the time that kids are with you. And so what does that look like? And is it on your schedule? And are you working that into your cost structure? Because that's work. All of those things come into play here. Scheduling time to audit your records, like we talked about in session 1, really important, right? You are working hard. You are in it. You're in the trenches. But do you remember every single check that came in? Or, maybe someone paid cash with half cash and half check for their weekly tuition. You need to be able to sit down and say, okay, let's just get all this straight. Make sure I've got everything up to date. Everything's logged. I'm aware of where everything went. Any little, sticky notes that are sticking on the fridge that I need to address or addressed. Schedule time to do that. And everyone's going to need a different amount of time. So schedule what works for you. If that's weekly, if that's monthly, I would just encourage you to kind of stay on top of it so that things don't get confusing. And then address any other office tasks that you need to do. You can schedule Facebook posts. We can schedule those emails to go out for your calendar for the month, or for any special information that you want to have, to kind of go out and consistently be shared. Schedule that time. And that will be part of your time. When I ran my indoor enrichment center, I would do all of my social media on Mondays because we were closed. So that was my time. I'd sit there, make all my posts, get everything scheduled. And then I would also handle all my enrollments for courses. And so that to me it was the time when I just got everything straight. And that helped everyone. It helped me, but it helped my staff too. So again, it's going to be unique, but schedule the time that you need. And if you haven't thought about scheduling your year ahead, I highly encourage you to print out or get one of those nice big whole year calendars and schedule the entire year. What do you want August to look like? Don't forget about October. What kind of fun Halloween activities are you going to do, or Day of the Dead? What about December? Do you have any fun Christmas events that you want to do? Do you want the kids to be participating in any kind of community cleanup activity? Maybe they do that every August where they do a cleanup in the community and you want the kids to participate. What does that look like? What about visiting the library once a month? Walking over to the elementary school and doing story time with the kindergartners, right? Kind of how can you schedule this whole year ahead so you already know what's happening? And again, those dates are on your calendar and you're just flowing. And it's a nice, consistent schedule. And maybe a year is too much, but consider what time frame works best for you and create a business model around the activities, around the month or the year or the quarter, whatever frequency is important to you. whatever's doable, right? Because everyone's a little bit different. But again, we're here to help with that. So you just let me know.